Here we are with a swim, bike, run sports run analysis video of Mr. Kenny Watson. This video was taken on November 9th, 2015, around 7 o'clock at night on the campus of the Texas Chiropractic College. I am the head coach of Swim, Bike, Run Sports, Mike Finn. We're going to take a look at what we do well and what we can improve on in an effort to increase efficiency and decrease injury with Mr. Kenny here. He's a new runner to the sport, new athlete to the sport, looking forward to doing his first half marathon here in the next month or so. So we want to take a look and see what we have going on as far as his run stride is concerned. So we're going to look at a few things. I'll explain as the video goes on and hopefully answer any questions that pop up throughout. There's approximately 7 parts of a running gait that we need to make sure we keep an eye on as we go forward. We're going to take a look at the first one, which is your back extension, which is exactly how far from vertical your thigh goes behind your body as you're running. So this is the very beginning of the video. This was about 7 minutes into this run. I wanted to get a little fatigue in the muscles of Kenny, so we had a good idea of what a normal stride would look like. So we're going to go forward through this here a little bit and give it an opportunity to advance to about the middle of the video. We're going to drop it in slow motion. All right. So let's give it a pause at full. Let's try and hit full extension here. We want to see his back left. Let's pick on the right leg. Right at full extension, right there. Right about there. Good. So what we're looking for is how far back does his thigh go as he's running forward. So we'll use let's use a nice green color here. So this comes from the vertical, from the hip. Nope. Kenny, there's your hip right there. So we go straight down, and then we take another line and we go down the femur. All right. We're at 27 degrees. We're looking at anything greater than 20 degrees. So we're going to assume that Kenny, from what the conversation I had with you was, you have just started running and you haven't really done much other than put on a pair of shoes and go run. So while the things that you do are good, we want to maintain those, we also need to be under the impression that you don't know that what you're doing is good. So when we come across something that's poor, we have to have that same assumption that what you are doing, you don't even know you're doing it poorly. So while the good things are good, keep in mind that you don't know you're doing them. When the bad things are bad, we're going to point out that you are doing them. And as the run analysis, as the run gait changes, as you try and correct the errors, you have to make sure that you maintain the idea that you have to continue to do the good things good. So while we notice something that's proper, please keep in mind this is something you have to consciously think about as you change any one part of your stride, because just as the human body is one giant kinetic chain, if you alter one link, you alter all the links. But back extension looks good. You want a nice kickback as you push off the ground, you toe off. It looks good. And now we're going into the recovery, the swing phase of that gait. So right now it looks like we can clear that out. And then if we keep going, let's take a look at the left leg. I mean, that's about the same. Another 27, 28 degrees. I like it. So we're going to move forward here a little bit in the video. And we're going to take a look at your forward lean. We're going to pause it. So your forward lean is exactly how far do you carry your head over your hips. We do want the forward lean to be greater than 6 degrees. And that's pretty much from your hip to your ear off the vertical. We'll keep it green. So we go straight up off your hip. And then we go straight through your ear. And you're at 7 degrees. Now, this obviously will change throughout the stride. The objective here is to make sure you're not standing too straight up. That'll reduce the impact in your spine as well as the step-to-step shock that's transmitted up through the chain to your head, causing headaches, as well as then you got to really tighten your upper neck muscles, your chest, the rhomboids, the delts, the trap, to hold your head in place. So if you have a little forward, it acts as a spring, so to speak. So you got a good you got a good forward lean. 6 degrees is the minimum, but there's no really agreed upon maximum, because at some point, if you're leaning too far over, I mean, you're running hunched over, and then, of course, you're not going to be able to continue the run at a relatively, we'll just say, normal pace. So forward lean, good. Just make sure you want your ears to be just in front of your hip, just like maybe even with your ASIS or your pelvis. So moving on, let's go to the knee drive. This is routinely the biggest problem that all runners have, is the knee drive, especially amateur runners, not only due to the fact that they're not really aware of what they're doing. They just simply put on a pair of shoes, as I said before, and just start running. Let's see how your knee drive sits in this number. We're going to slow it down. And so your knee drive, to put it in a little bit simpler terms, is exactly how far do you lift your knee from the vertical. And we're going to, the right leg's so much easier because we're facing the right side. We can assume some symmetry here. We'll go one more stride. So your knee drive is when your knee stops going up, which is right there. All right, we'll keep it green. We're going to go from the hip down. That's not quite the hip. We're going to go from the hip down, and then we're going to go through the femur. All right, we're 39 degrees. And as with most of the run analyses that I've done, this is falling very short of what we're looking for. So we want this to be greater than 45 degrees, with 45 degrees being the minimum. Kenny, you're in Cairo school. Imagine you need a 70 to pass, and you're shooting for a 71. Yeah, you passed, but that was the minimum. So we want at least 45 degrees, which means we want to probably be shooting for 50, 55 degrees. What the knee drive does is the knee drive is it's a rating on how quickly you flex your hip flexor and snap your knee in front of you to bring your lower leg to a position in front of you that allows you to maximize your stride. What you're doing, and what is done by most runners, is you're simply letting your leg swing forward by momentum and just land where it may. You're not placing your foot on the ground. You're just simply continuing your run as your foot hits the ground. So what we want is a knee drive. We're going to use red because it's the color of correction and messes and really pisses everybody off that sees it on your test. So what we want, my man, is we want a knee drive of about, right about there. And as you can see, it's not a lot on your knee. I mean, you're looking at maybe 2 or 3 inches higher. But when you do a couple drills and you take a shot at making this happen, you're going to see you really got to pick your knee up. It's going to feel awkward. It's almost going to feel like you're high stepping. And that's because compared to your natural stride, you are high stepping. But through repetition, this will become a normal step, and you'll begin to see that you're going to increase your stride length as well as increase your stride pace. Now, when you increase your stride pace, you're going to increase the energy output. When you increase energy output, you increase speed. This is a default. This is all just from lifting your knee a little bit higher. You increase your speed. Speed is a byproduct of proper form. Your objective isn't to run faster. Your objective is to run smarter. You run smarter, you run faster. That's something to keep in mind as we look at this video and continue to go forward. So your knee drive, greater than 45 degrees, both knees, it's really the first thing to focus on, because I believe that of everything we have to run through here, this is the greatest efficiency. And once again, by deficiency, we don't mean fault. We just simply mean room for improvement. So we're going to keep going. We're going to look at your knee compression here. Sorry, your knee extension. Your knee extension, we'll stay about this part at this point in the video. Your knee extension is how far or how straight does your knee get right before it touches the ground. So we want to see how straight your knee gets. Right there. Nope, I had it and I lost it. There it is, right there. So knee extension is just that. Kenny, you're a med student. I'm sure you know these terms very well. So all what we're looking for is your knee angle at full extension. So we're looking at your knee angle. So for here, we got to go from your hip to your knee. Nope. From your hip to your knee. And we're going to give this one more shot. hip to the knee, and then knee to the ankle. Play with me on this one. This needs to be less than 165 degrees. You're at 161. My lines are a little off. I'm going to go ahead and say that you are, let's give this one more shot at the risk of embarrassment. There we go. That's a little bit better. And that's actually a little bit more representative. So your knee gets too straight, and I believe this to be true. I remember seeing this when I watched you run in person. The reason why we want our knee to stay bent is because your knee is going to act like a shock absorber as it cushions the, basically, remember, you're catching your body, but your body is falling down because no part of you is touching the ground, so gravity is pulling you down. So your leg and your knee have to absorb the impact that prevents your body from falling on the ground. We want that to be relatively springy so that you can catch yourself with minimum exertion and then push yourself off again to continue through the next stride. So we want a little less knee extension. You don't have to kick your knee out as far. Here's where things get tricky. If we increase your knee drive and we pick up your knee higher, you will have a smaller knee extension by default because your knee will be higher, and if you don't kick out your foot along with picking up your knee, you won't have as straight a leg. Hopefully you can visualize that as we're going forward through this video. So the first thing to do is correct the knee drive and then see what happens to your knee extension as we go forward. But it's something to understand that this is how this is going to go. We're going to correct the biggest error first, and then we're going to see what shakes loose after the fact. But this angle is very important because without this angle, we're now going to see what your knee compression is. Your knee compression is how much do you bend your knee at the point when you have caught your body from landing on the ground. So right there. It's right there. So right here, your body has stopped going south, and now it's beginning to go north through the next stride. So we had 170 degrees there. We go from the hip to the knee. You just got to take my word for it. I'm kind of eyeballing it because I got to use my finger on the screen, and I can't see the line under my finger, which is the real problem. Nope. Come on now. That was a good femur line. There we are. All right. So 136 degrees. So we had 170 to 136. That's 34 degrees. So you got a 34 degrees knee compression. We want that to be less than 25 degrees. So what that means is your leg is too straight when you kick out, and it's too bendy when you land. You're wasting energy. You need to the real solution here is your knee drive. Pick your knee up. Have less of a knee bend when you land, and then maintain that same bend through the plant phase of your stride. What this does is this ensures that almost all power is transferred forward as opposed to energy wasted catching your body moving vertically. That right there is about what we have to worry about from the lateral view. Nope, one more thing. My apologies. The elbow, this is a great thing to look at and really something that people don't pay attention to because when you run with your legs, you don't run with your arms. But your arms create turbulence. When we are running, we're trying to go from A to B. That's north-south. We're not trying to move anything east-west. So any forces moved laterally across the body, you have to counterbalance that momentum in order to maintain a forward progress. So let's take a look at your arms. So as you can see, your arms look pretty good. So your elbow angle, you want to be less than 90 degrees. This is strictly for efficiency. This isn't so much for speed as it is the less energy you have to waste keeping your arms to your body, then the more energy you have to move your legs and to go forward. So I'm going to scroll this a little bit. We want your elbows to never, it's not that essential, but we would prefer that your elbows don't be greater than 90 degrees at any point on your run. A very simple drill for this exercise is stick your thumbs in your armpits when you're running and try and keep them there. It's a gross over-exaggeration, but it gets your body used to having your arms up. So let's take a look at, try and find the maximum point of your elbows, which look to be right about there. I'm not even going to draw a line. That's pretty much 90 degrees. That's the minimum. Where it gets really important is at the top of your run. We're going to see where your arm is right there. So you have to take a little bit of grace with the angle. You can see that your hand is in front of your chest. Your elbow is closer to the camera than your hand. That's probably slightly less than 90. It's about 85 degrees right there. What we really do want is we want your right hand to be basically around your nipple line. We want your elbow to be flexed. The closer and tighter you hold your arms to your body, the less momentum you have going laterally, which means the less energy you have to spend resisting that lateral motion so that you can continue to go forward. Really, really important. It's not going to make you incredibly faster just by keeping your elbows bent. It will, however, provide you with less energy spent going forward. So, we went over 6 of the 7 major running mechanics. The last one is hip drop, which is really viewed from the backside. We have the next video coming up. We're going to take a look at that, as well as foot strike and how you use your placement to continue to propel forward. So, once again, this has been a Swim Bike Run Sports video analysis of Mr. Kenny Watson's run gait. This was done November 9th. We're going to take a look at Kenny as he's running out the video, and we're going to look forward to making some corrections and seeing how these corrections affect his gait in the very near future. So, we're going to move on to the next video.